Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this MotorWeek podcast. It's our podcast number 35, and we're coming to you from Studio C here at MotorWeek headquarters. And around the table for this session, our road test producer, Brian Robinson.
Hello, John.
And writer, Shamit Choksey.
Hey, John.
And over-the-edge reporter, Stephen Chupnick.
How's it going?
Okay, coming up, we also have our lightning round and a look at the MotorWeek mailbag. But let's get right into the vehicles. And our first one is a truck with some serious off-roading capabilities. It's the Ford F-150 SVT Raptor. And who's going to start? Shamit?
I can start on that one. I think Raptor, the name kind of says it all. Of course, Raptor refers to not just the dinosaur, but also the fighter jet. Now we have this incredibly venomous truck that was kind of made to dominate the Baja 1000, the iconic race out in Southern California. I thought this thing was amazing. I think everybody on this staff was pretty impressed with it. It is truly a scary, sinister-looking truck. It's based on the F-150, Ford's F-150, which everybody knows very well, but it is wider. It is just meaner, and just the looks of it are just, from tire to hardware, everything is just, it's all about dominating the off-road.
But it's still now a street truck. I mean, it doesn't have the roll cage or a lot of the other things that you'd have in a pure racing truck, but it certainly has that look. But what about living with it when you're not conquering the dunes?
I think that's what blew us all away because, we took it out to Green Ridge State Park, and it has, obviously all the capabilities, the power to go through mud, dirt, streams, everything like that, and, of course, sand because of the Baja. But we took it out on the road, and, I had it for a weekend, and you guys did too. I took it to the grocery store. The thing rides as smooth as silk. I mean, it's it's not a commuter car by any means, but I'm saying that you could live with this thing. You could have this as an everyday truck and then go ballistic on the weekends out on the off road.
And it's got some really trick hardware in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about the smooth ride. It's got Fox shocks on it. I think it was the first production vehicle to have Fox. If you're into ATVs or motocross or even mountain bikes, you're familiar with Fox shocks, and that has a lot to do with the ride. Everyone thinks that having a lot of wheel travel is going to make a stiff ride, which it can, but with shocks like that, I mean, they're all about smoothing out bumps, going high speed over bumps, and they'll absorb anything. In fact, you found the faster you drove it over rough terrain, the smoother it got. Yeah, they're definitely great shocks. The thing is just a beast, especially I was driving a car, and it was somebody else I work with is in the rear view, and seeing that thing in the rear view is insane. I mean, it is definitely a beast.
It's got that big, chiseled Ford right across the front end.
The engine's the 5.4 liter, which a lot of people have said it's not quite enough, especially when you get into serious off-roading. They do have a 6.2 liter coming out with 400 horsepower.
That's going to be a monster.
Yeah. But it's got a lot of trick off-road stuff to it. You can lock everything and disconnect things, and the steering wheel's got in the leather sewing, it's got a mark where to let you know where the center is, which is important sometimes.
Sure.
Usually you just wrap a piece of tape around there, but it's got it actually in the leather. A lot of cool stuff like that.
And it's so demure looking, right? Now, tell our listeners about the visual experience, the color, the interior.
The color, they call it molten orange. It's a complete orange nightmare, on the road. It's got this black splattered paint on the back.
Yeah, I could do without that.
You didn't like that. I kind of liked it. Big fat fenders, and there's 35-inch high tires. I mean, it's And I love the fact that you can see, the Fox shocks you're talking about. I mean, you can see all that hardware and the suspension bits underneath just standing next to it. You pull up to somebody in a car and they look over and all they're looking at are shocks. So it's cool. It's very cool.
Now, on the inside, it was pretty much straightforward Ford truck unless you got the optional package that added some of the orange inserts. But there's some unusual hardware there as well, right?
There's a sort of an auxiliary light switch box, which allows you to go aftermarket and go crazy with lighting. It just makes the whole process a lot easier.
So if you want big running lights or something,
or any electrical, you could have electric diff lock, or you could have a winch, power that. A lot 4 pre-wired switches.
Right. So that makes
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
I think this truck has been hyped up more than any that I've heard, around the office, and it really does live up to the hype. And I think you said the word beast. It's the only word that comes to mind. This truck is an ultimate beast.
It'd be interesting to put it out against the Power Wagon, but the Power Wagon's is much heavier and a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't think it's near as serious as this truck. It really surprised me because I wasn't expecting it to be as serious.
You thought it'd be more cosmetic.
Yeah, like a trim package, but to me, this it's done by SVT. And to me, a much better truck than the Lightning ever was, that's for sure. Lightning was faster, obviously, in a straight line.
But that's about all it could do.
Not practical as a truck at all. This thing, you can go have some fun with it.
Right.
Great. Okay, let's move on now to our first convertible of the season. We've had unusually warm weather here on the East Coast, and a perfect time to drop the top and enjoy some early spring rays. The Audi A5 Cabriolet has been to our shop, and Brian, I know you're going to pick up on that too.
Yeah, the A5, everyone, I think, liked the A5 Coupe when it came out. Stunning looking car, inside
gorgeous
and out.
car.
The Cabrio, I wouldn't say I was disappointed by it, but we've had some awesome handing Audis in lately, the R8 V10 and the S4, and this car definitely comes down on the more comfortable cruiser side of things, especially for Audi. I was kind of surprised by that. And,
so it's a boulevard cruiser.
Exactly. Top down, want everybody to see you. Keep it at the speed limit.
That's sort of expected to in a way, right? I mean, and we kind of knew that from the coupe it would be a little bit of a step down in terms of
you lose a lot of body rigidity, but did you notice that?
Yeah, it's very apparent when you start going through the slalom course we had. And even the straight line performance, it's got the 2-liter turbo. And I wouldn't say it's underpowered, but as close as it can be without being underpowered. Just not really a thrilling driving experience per se. But the 2.0 turbo, which is a great engine, I just think it's not quite enough in this car. Although the transmission is awesome, and it doesn't have any turbo lag anymore. They've definitely done away with that.
This is a true 4-passenger convertible. I mean, you put 2 people in the back seat with decent leg room.
I think so. I'm not sure what the top-up headroom would be, but plenty of legroom.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed when I take a look. I'm always looking at what's going to be the next double dating convertible, and for pure style points, this car wins by a mile.
Sweet, where are we going this weekend?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'll check my wallet. You check yours. Although with this car, I'm not so sure you need a whole lot of money. Just put a little bit in the tank and go cruising.
Yeah, I mean, it's like $43,000, which. Granted, it's probably worth it, but it seems a little high to me. It just wasn't. I was really impressed with the A5 and especially the S5. This car, I just wasn't.
Lost a little something in taking the top off.
It's almost like having a A4, with the price of an A5. I just don't. Not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on now to a little bit different for our podcast. I'm going to start. One of the reasons that we asked Stephen Chupnik to come on board for this podcast is he's just finished up a little bit of a different segment for us. The idea came to Stephen because it's springtime and everybody is cleaning up their cars, and if most people are like me after the winter of salt on the roads, they're pretty grubby. And Stephen basically set out to sort of change that and to see how the pros do it, right?
Yeah, I really got down and dirty with car detailing and went down to a shop and was basically given the reins to clean out a car. And
so they told you to do it?
Oh, they told me. You
didn't just watch?
Oh, no. I got in, and this car, so it was a Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer edition. And you think Eddie Bauer, it's, they're not going to mess it up. But this truck had horses, it had dogs, it had, I don't even know if it was live animals.
Wait a minute now.
It was horses in the vehicle?
They were eating out of the vehicle.
Oh my God, really?
Wow. Sweet.
Yeah, I got in there.
Got Mike Rowe for that job.
Yeah, well.
Sounds like it was just right along his line.
It was definitely, it was fun. And I learned a ton about what the difference is between just a regular car wash and detailing. And
Well, what are some of the tricks of the trade that they taught you? Now, obviously, everybody knows the basics of washing and waxing a car, but, these guys are quote-unquote professionals. So what surprised you?
Well, I think that what surprised me is this guy's been doing it for 24 years and was one of the first guys to start, or the first company to start, a mobile detailing, where, some of these guys who really want to clean out their car and get everything that you really want cleaned up. It was,
Did you get down with like a toothbrush or anything?
Oh, I had the toothbrush. I had
Q-tips?
Well, no Q-tips. And actually, that's funny because Randy Coffey, that's the guy, it's Detail Authority. And the guys, they use toothbrushes to go inside the vents, and they
go inside the vents
to do that. And he said rather than using a Q-tip,
did you do the engine as well? Or
no, he doesn't touch the engine with certain vehicles. In this vehicle, it was a 1998 that had 270,000 miles.
Oh my goodness.
And it was still going. It was still running.
Are those like Oral-B toothbrushes, or are they special for detail?
I think it was. It wasn't Oral-B, but it was just a regular toothbrush
from the pharmacy.
With back-to-back toothbrush.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend that.
How about actually cleaning up the exterior? Now, you washed it, and then what? Did you put on more than one coat of wax? Was it all hand done?
It was all hand done, but he's got a special waxing and spray and gel that he uses specifically. It's not your over-the-counter gel. To clean the wheels and the tires, there's no Armor All. It's not. It's a special blend that is commercially bought.
It's for commercial
detailers.
But did you learn anything, though, that people should watch out for? Because after all, a lot of these companies, there are a lot of mobile detailers out there, and some were legitimate than others. But any warning signs to know when you're getting a good job and not?
Well, I think the one major thing that he wanted to dispel, a myth, when you're using soap and water on your car, you can use soap and water on your car, but make sure it's car washing soap. Some of the regular over-the-counter dishwashing soap will destroy your paint.
Especially the clear coat.
Clear coat. And he said that over the past 20 years, some of the paint that has been put on some of these cars is good and bad. Good for the consumer because it's a better quality, bad for business because it is a better quality. Some of these paints are easy to clean compared to 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
It's like any other walk of life. There's like detail guys, and then there's amazing detail guys. And you get some amazing guys. It's what they can do, bring cars back from. It's a work of art.
Just ballpark. What are people looking to spend range-wise? I mean,
he has a flat fee. We didn't go into price because he charges per job.
You mean he looks at the vehicle and then quotes your price?
You give him a couple, and this is what we talked about. He said that he gives you a base price. And then it's not hourly; it's a base price, and then depending on the job, it could go from a couple $100 more to upwards of $1,000.
Really?
Depending on
because your typical detailing, I know in this area, can run you about $150, $175 for interior and exterior. So he really is doing high end jobs. Then.
Well, yeah, and if you would have seen this truck, and
he gets the worst case situations.
He tries not to, but this was a car that it was definitely
reputation
to the extreme.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see the segment. It sounds like a lot of fun.
We should do a sequel. I've got a few cars that we could.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I'm sure he'll be happy to take it on.
Awesome. Yeah, for a price. All right, let's move on now to our lightning round, where our MotorWeek panelists have the opportunity to share their opinions on topics making the news. It's 2 minutes, and when we hear the bell from Michelle, we're supposed to stop, but we sort of take that as a suggestion, just like most people do with stop signs. Here we go. While many states require hands-free devices, like hands-free cell phones, while driving, vehicles are coming equipped with more and more switches and controls, more infotainment system. The Internet's getting ready to come on board. So here's the question. Are cars becoming too complicated and overloaded with technology that can distract drivers? Who would like to start?
Yeah, to me, it all comes down to bad drivers. You're going to be a bad driver There's tons of them out there, and whether you got a cell phone in your hand or whether you're using hands-free, you're still going to be a bad driver. I mean, this is nothing new. You go back to the 40s, and they were like, "Oh, radios in cars. Oh my goodness, it's the end of the world." But we seem to have adapted. I don't know. We're going both ways. The manufacturers are putting more and more of the stuff in the cars, and all the governments are banning it. So I'm not sure where we're going to end up with this. I
mean, I kind of agree with Brian. But you have bad drivers, and then you have a bad driver with a cell phone. So it becomes a worse driver. So yeah. I mean, this is So in one way, these technologies are helping us. In another way, they're making things more complicated. I don't think we can. It's kind of splitting hairs at this point.
Well, I think it's a couple of important things to know about. Number one, just because it's hands-free doesn't mean the driver will be less distracted.
That's correct.
There have been study after study after study that shows that it doesn't make a lot of difference whether you've got a hands-free device or not as far as distraction. Now, theoretically, you'll have the other hand on the steering wheel, but we all know that won't necessarily be the case. Maybe they'll have it around a cup of coffee or a cheeseburger.
Well, one of the things they say is cell phone can mess up your periphery. That has been in studies too. So,
but still, they find that except for teenagers, that your attention on the road is still about the same. As a matter of fact, what they're putting to rest is this myth that we can all do multitasking while driving. It's pretty much been shown that we can't. But I agree with Brian. There are a lot of other distractions that are worse. For instance, what about kids?
Biggest distraction out there.
I mean, can you think about, before we started, we were talking about this, and Michelle mentioned that there's nothing scarier than seeing a van full of kids, basically, the parents basically being distracted by, 6 or 8 different voices in the back, and they're trying to keep their mind on the road. And meanwhile, have they seen you? That's the big question.
Well, there's that, and then how many times? I mean, this has happened to all of you guys, whether you say it or not. But you're driving along, and then all of a sudden, you've traveled 3 or 4 miles, and you don't know how you got there.
I did that once.
All right, well, then we do that.
Every day, almost.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So you get lost in your head all the time. The distractions are already in our brain. So, again, I
as typical, government laws like this, and they are going to affect more and more states, they basically are trailing technology. As soon as basically you figure out how to eliminate one threat, somebody's going to come up with something new. So.
I'm distracted right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Oh, my goodness. Here's the bell.
Thank God.
Thanks, Michelle. So let's move on now to the MotorWeek mailbag. Okay, our question comes from Tim in Maryland. Now, Tim wrote us at our website, motorweek.org, and he submitted our question. And because we have selected it, Tim will receive a free MotorWeek T-shirt.
All right, Tim.
Here's the question. About a year ago, I purchased a used 2008 Ford Escape Hybrid. The owner's manual was missing, and the service technician said that regular oil changes should happen every 10,000 miles because the engine doesn't work as hard or run as often. Is this a safe interval without causing potential engine wear? Oh, Tim, please find yourself another technician.
Well, before we get to the technician, can I just say that you can get the owner's manual anywhere? I mean, that's the first thing.
Well, there's a company called Helm, Helm, Incorporated. They make almost all the manuals. Go on the Internet,
right.
Google Helm Incorporated or Helm Owner's Manuals. You will get their address. You can also order it through the car dealer's parts department, but get yourself an owner's manual.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number for Ford that Ford recommends, but 10,000 miles on any car these days isn't a stretch. It doesn't have anything to do with being a hybrid and not working as hard. I mean,
right.
10,000 miles is almost common in pretty much anything made now.
The general rule that we've always followed at MotorWeek for many, many years is, 3 months, 3,000 miles, and maybe if you've got a synthetic oil, you can get up to, you should wait 5,000 miles, but still do it at 3 months. And why do we say that? And for that matter, why does Pat Goss, who sets up our maintenance schedule, say that? It has nothing to do with actually how much the oil is used. It has to do with the driving environment. It has to do with how much dirt is in the air. If you operate in a city where hybrids often do the best, that air is dirtier. The additives inside the oil that keep the lubrication in good shape, they break down. So the oil itself may be okay, but it may be dirty. dirty, and it may be lacking many of the additives that you need to ensure that engine wear is kept at a minimum. So there's all things involved here. And even if the owner's manual tells you can go 7,500 or 10,000, it's probably, if you want to keep this vehicle a long time, it's much, much smarter to do it much more frequently. And if you need that list of what MotorWeek recommends, it's at our MotorWeek.org website, and you can find a complete list of when you should change belts, hoses, and all of the above. But generally speaking, I think 10,000 miles is very uncomfortable. One more thing. Most of these hybrids, if you use them in the city, they don't get that hot, so therefore they don't burn off a lot of impurities in the oil, and that also is bad for the oil. Anything else from anyone?
No, I feel good about that.
Okay. And but get the owner's manual, Tim, and don't leave home without it. Okay, well, I think that brings to a close this MotorWeek podcast. I'd like to thank those in the studio, our road test producer, Brian Robinson, our writer, Shamit Choksey, and our reporter, Stephen Chupnick. Thanks, guys, for joining me today. I'd also like to give thanks to our producer, Michelle Parker, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and also our audio engineer, Mr. Jim Bigwood. Thank you all for listening to MotorWeek's podcast. Be sure to watch MotorWeek on your local public television station. Till next time, I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, thanks very much for listening.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at MotorWeek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.